Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I started these conversations because life doesn't give us do-overs. So this is a space where we get a chance to reflect and tell our story again, with more grace for ourselves, and hopefully make us all better for having listened. Today I'm talking with Shawn Ledig, and Jason Dibelius from the Option podcast is jumping in on this one too. Shawn, Jason, and I have a great friendship that was born from our love of volleyball and real conversation. Shawn is a father, husband, and lifelong athlete, from college basketball to professional beach volleyball to Jiu-Jitsu champ, and a structural engineer by day. He's also a guy with a great story who uses it to set an awesome example for the next generation. Shawn, thanks for talking with us today. Okay, this conversation's been a long time coming, at least to record, because the three of us have spent a lot of time talking, and we're finally doing it on camera, thanks to Jay's technical skills, Shawn's ability to get in here from Louisiana on the Zoom, and we're about to break it down. And there's too many good ways to go on this conversation, but since the three of us started in Louisiana Beach Week, take it back to last June, we have just had an amazing connection of stories and where we've come from and the dialogue that's gone on between us. And I've been really curious to get Shawn's story down on camera for a while. And the guy moves so fast. He's always going.
Yeah,
so
he
it's
does.
been hard to slow him down enough to get
he
it.
does.
So we're going to get that today. So maybe Jay and I have decided we're doing this joint venture between What I Meant to Say podcast and The Option. So
Yep, gonna do that.
So
Gonna do that.
Two for
Shawn,
one.
there it is.
yeah, so let's get going on. I want to start with you, Shawn, and I'm just so curious about where you've come from, that Louisiana upbringing, and the stories that you have, because I get them in small pieces, and we connected through volleyball on my blog, and I'm just really curious to dig deeper. And so start with where you were brought up, your parents, and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Louisiana born and raised. My mom, she's from Hawaii, so she came over for what? I mean, I know why she came over, but you want to think, why would somebody come from Hawaii to Louisiana? But her dad was from Louisiana, my grandfather. So when she moved to Louisiana, she ended up meeting my dad in college, little college they call McNeese. It's out in Lake Charles, and then he was from Houma, Louisiana, another little South Louisiana town. And he passed away when I was young. He actually was hit by a drunk driver while he was walking across the street. So I was 3 or 4 at the time. It was about 4 days before my third or fourth birthday. I think it was my third birthday. So I was young. I was fairly young. My older brother he's 5 years older than me. So that was kind of the first real memory that you kind of have. It's a tragic one, but still so young that, you don't really know. And then my mother moved. I was born in Lafayette, actually. And then from about 4 or 5 years old, a few years after, my mom moved to Baton Rouge. We moved to a small little place called Central, Greenville Springs area. Single mom, 2 kids. Guy had some help from my grandparents, my grandmother, and some family members. But and then she met my stepdad. So that's where the last name actually came in. He adopted us, and we were 4, 5, or 6 at the time. And they were together for probably 10 years. They had my younger brother with us. And then finally she left, and she had me, my younger brother, and my older brother. So my mother, single mother, raised 3 boys. So tell me that wasn't a chore to do. And the reason that she had left, my stepfather, he had just passed away last year, middle of the year, bless his soul. He was abusive. He was physically abusive to her, to me, to my older brother. And then even as we got older, my younger brother, he had to deal with it because that was his real father, So she took us and she left, and she went to this little city, Baker, Louisiana. Not much goes on around that area. Middle of the country. Some other people consider it's like a ghetto type area. It's really, it's kind of going downhill bad, but she took us there and hid out for a little while. Crazy story. I mean, I've had talks with her about it, and I said, do you think that was the right thing? But then when I look back and the physical abuse that she had to endure, I mean, I watched it. I had to watch it growing up, and it was pretty rough. It kind of makes you really bitter and angry, and you have, how hard time dealing with it. But then when it happens to you too, because he would get upset whenever we wouldn't do something or we would do this. He's a pretty good sized man. I mean, 6'1", 6'2", 240 pounds. So it wasn't like he was small. And then we moved away, and then he got back in connection with, in touch with us. And even though they were divorced and I still wasn't his, biological son, I would still go with him every other weekend. And he did some good things. He really did. He did what he was supposed to. He moved to Florida for a little while. He came to spend some time with us every other weekend. He would drive in from Florida and he would come pick us up. We'd go stay at my grandmother's house in Port Allen. And, sometimes you don't feel like you belonged in a certain place. My grandmother and them and my cousin, she's one of my cousins, is one of my favorite people growing up. Her name's Carla. She was always there for me, same age. So we were always close in age and we had a lot of things in common. So she used to help me through that. Mom didn't get a lot of financial support. What's that?
You just hit on something really big there that I wanted to grab, and that concept that he did some really good things for you. And you're kind of tearing my heart out with the first part of that story, but that ability that you have to not see everything in black and white, because people really make a lot of mistakes, and not to excuse any of the stuff that you went through, but that's an amazing quality to have, to be able to see that in other people, that, you still were able to bridge a gap there.
Let me tell you something. It took a long time.
I can imagine.
But I can tell you my athletic, I'd say, I didn't play sports growing up at a younger age. Like my son, he's 6, 7. He plays sports. I coach everything. I've coached everything under the sun right so far. Things I've never even played or, had an opportunity to play, but it's fun and they're young. So I didn't start basketball. Really, I started to play basketball in 4th or 5th grade. Just little school stuff, nothing major. Playing in the yard. My older brother played, of course, and we went to a private school that he played for, and they had a bunch of good players there. The coaches were really good, and that's what piqued my interest in. But I would always go play by myself. I was that kid that I could go do things by myself, but I could never sit still. I guess you guys can, you realize that now, because I just couldn't. I was just that kid that I'm pretty sure now they would probably diagnose me with at least 4 or 5 different things. But like I said to some people, I think it was a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse, if you want to look at it. It just depends on how you harness it and you make it work for you. And that's something that I've had to do over the years. But at a young age, that was like in basketball. Like, I got cut from my first little basketball team. This is not fun. And then, the next few years I made it. Junior high, 8th grade, I tried out for the varsity basketball team because it was a K through 12 school. And, and I had to, since my mom, she was raising 3 of us. I think she got like $100 for each of us from my stepdad. I don't know how that works because child support it's crazy. And she worked at the church. The church basically helped her out. I mean, we was 3 of us in a small little duplex in this little bitty neighborhood, like Barrington Place, and I drove through it the other day as I went home to visit. I'm pretty sure everybody in there was looking at this guy driving through this neighborhood, but I wanted to go back to where I was from. I actually took pictures and some video, and I was like, man, kind of makes you, I guess, grateful for everything.
Yeah, you and Jay have some commonality on that story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the neighborhood I lived off this place called Groom Road in Baker. Most people would, I don't know if they've seen, be honest, I don't know if they've seen it, anybody of, a Caucasian and going down. Seriously, that's how, I grew up on that side of the tracks, and it is what it is. And that's why I was always doing what I did, I grew up, but her raising us, what I had to do is I actually had to work at school, to go to this private school because she couldn't afford it. So what they did is they allowed me, and there were a few other athletes and a few other students that did it. They would do us like a little work program. So we would work after school. We would take care of the trash. We'd mop stuff. You get picked on for it. Kids are kids. And but a lot of my friends, they understood, and it was a small, Christian school. So I think it was probably better yet than it could have. It probably could have been worse if it was in some other setting. But I was embarrassed for it. But I understood. My younger brother was at that school. She wanted me to be there with him. And so I was walking into this is how it all started. I was walking into to get some trash bags and stuff. And the coach came in. I thought I did fairly well for the tryout, 8th grade, a little smaller. I was a point guard at that time. And I thought I did much better than some of the seniors and juniors. And, that were at the tryouts. Well, I asked Coach, he came in. I said, "What do you think, Coach?" He said, I don't think you're going to be able to make it this year. So I walked in, he saw me. I mean, I kind of got taken back a little bit. I walked into that closet, just pouring tears. And I guess he saw me, so he came in and he's like, what's wrong? I said, I think, in my personal opinion, I said, I'm better than some of the guys that you have on that team. I said, that's just my facts. I said, I know that when we did 3-on-3 drills and we played some games, I did better than some. And he was like, well, they're seniors and juniors. I was like, well, that doesn't mean that they're better than me. So he said, okay, you know what? He said, get your money up to buy your shoes. So that was like the greatest, day. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So even if I was the 12th, 13th, 14th, man, I didn't care. 8th grade, me and another guy named Kenny Myers, but Kenny ended up being like a number 3 swingman on ESPN whenever we were seniors. He made it too. And so, but what sucked is I get home, I'm talking to my mom, and she's like, well, but she didn't, we can't afford that. I was like, oh my God. So that was another thing I had to deal with, She couldn't afford certain things. And I was like, oh God. So I actually had to sit out that year. And it sucked, So doing that, but it made me better, And so as we did that, my freshman year, of course I made it. And then after that, my mom was having trouble with me. And so she got and sent me to a boys' home, a school. And that, at the moment in time, I was like, this is terrible. I mean, this is, why is she doing this? Why is she doing that? It's not, you're not going to put blame on yourself as a kid and you just think everybody else doesn't know what they're talking about. Well, the first day I walked into this place, the principal and all of them are there, and he's like, well, how do you like our place? And I was just like, this place sucks. And he'll tell you, he tells a story. He's a preacher down in Texas. And I went to see him to go on a hunt last year. And he told the story and people just bust out laughing. But I was like, this is garbage. I said, I don't belong here. You got people here that are being sent here because of, the state and this and that. And so, but when I look back at it and I talked to my mom and we've had some conversations, I was like, imagine you're a woman raising 3 boys. Now, the thing you got to understand too, is like me and my brothers are all athletic. Like my older brother played professional racquetball. He played basketball, played baseball. He's probably the most athletic, if you want to say it, in the family. But then my younger brother, he was a baseball player. That's basically what he did. He played for a college in Alabama and came home and, he's in Florida now. But so we were a competitive household of 3 boys, and they ranged from, I think Aaron, my older brother's 5 years older than me. So we had a range there, but just, 3 boys in a duplex. It wasn't the easiest lifestyle. And I know that the church had helped her out, and I told her some stuff about that. I was like, I'm glad that they were there for you to do that. But I used to tell her, I was like, do you think you could do more? She said maybe she could have, maybe she couldn't. And at the time, I knew that we didn't have money, but I didn't think we were poor, because I had all my friends and everybody at the, at school and everything like that. And I wore a ton of hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
So that was when I got older, and all I could think of is this. I was like, man, my brother dressed well, which was cool. So, some of the hand-me-downs were pretty awesome. Yeah. But all I could think of is like, when I was growing up, my thing was like, man, when I make money, I'm going to wear whatever I want. I'm going to dress, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So it's just one of those things you grow up thinking about. But, but that year that I went to that school, well, there was a basketball court, 2 of them, to 100 feet from the dormitory. Now, not only did I play at like these parks in Baker and Central growing up, like my freshman year and stuff. So I was always at the parks. I'd go down to this place called Scotlandville, and it's by Southern University. Probably there've been times when I first used to go there, I'd walk into the gym and everybody would look at me and stop dribbling the ball. They're like, does this guy know where he's at? I'm like, hey, and after I got on the court, it was all good. We were fine. It was fun. Everybody got to know me, and as I grew up. But that year was probably, first off, I went from 5'9" to 6'3" in that summer. So when I came home the first visit, and I had to stay there for like 6 months. I couldn't come home. Nobody saw me. Nobody knew what was going on. I came home. I had to take medication, like pain pills, because of my shins.
Oh, yeah.
Like 5'9" to
Yeah,
6,
literal
5'9"
growing.
to 6'3".
Yeah,
And
literal growing
like,
pains, dude. right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And it was the craziest thing. I was laying in my dorm bed in the bunk bed, just like, and everybody's like, what the heck's going on? Didn't gain any weight, just grew. They, but when I came back, and then I had to deal with my body, the mechanics of my body. Like I'm sitting there, my feet got to be like a 13 all of a sudden. I'm like, man, I was awkward. But that basketball. I actually made all state, all stars, all district that year for this smaller school. And then when I got out, some of the other schools, that the school I went to, they offered me a full ride to play ball. They were like, as bad as I wanted to go back to that small little school, there were other options. And so I went actually to live with my stepdad
Oh.
because he was living in Port Allen. And I went to Port Allen, had a great, my team, I still keep in touch with my teammates there. We had a really good team. I was the only white guy on the team. So we used to always pick around and we would always make fun of each other. We had a close bond. And then about halfway through the year, there's a race riot at my school.
What year is this?
Great. This is a 92, I think it
Yeah,
was. If
yeah.
I'm correct. It's
Ro-
92,
the
93.
Rodney King year.
Rodney
Yep.
King.
Yes, yes. And it's the craziest thing because this is West Baton Rouge right across the bridge. And look, I'm cool with me. If you had a problem with me, that's cool. If I got a problem with you, it's I'm pretty sure something happened and we're just not going to get along, and that's fine. But I've always gotten along because look, I'm a guy that went to let me see, from kindergarten, I went to this little school in Baton Rouge. I think I went to 10 schools, K
Yeah.
through 12. You see what I mean? So I was
Yeah, you're
having
always
to go to
starting
different schools.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the big thing, and so I was always making, and it works. It came to my favor as I grew older. It seems like everybody from Baton Rouge, West Baton Rouge, and it was a good thing. But yeah, this was odd. I'm pulling up in the school. You see people, the cops are there, all this stuff's going on. I wasn't involved in it, but but it was rough because, like I said, I was the only white guy on the team, and people were. It's hard at that time, at that age, to discern things. And if
Yeah.
it wasn't for certain people on my team and other people at the school that I was close with, I'd have probably got jumped. Because look, I was actually still going to school, even though they didn't mandate people to go to school. Because I was like, I'm not involved in it. I'm not I'm not that guy. But it put it they had parents that came to school. They were talking about waiting outside for kids. It was rough.
Yeah.
They had cops all there, and this was 92. They put metal detectors to school for a little bit, but we all got together. We finished up our season, and
And
had a good summer season.
did your team have any problems after that,
We
or were
we
you
did
still
we
as
didn't
close?
No, we didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
Coach Ardwan actually didn't let me go to practice for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks. I actually
Wow.
didn't. I didn't start it, but he didn't know.
No.
He was just like he didn't. But once me and the guys, he would see me, Jamar Mason. He's a really close friend of mine. One of the, he was our point guard, and me and him. Me and him are still close to this day. He actually just he overcame a battle with cancer not long ago. Huge. He's somebody that I look up to, and his story is just amazing. But we still keep in touch, and a bunch of other guys we keep in touch. But after it was all squashed, we finished up the season. We actually went to a basketball camp as a team that summer and did awesome. We were laughing. I was like, man, I wish we could have finished up our season like this. And then that next year, it was me and my dad had gotten into it. Me and him, we weren't seeing eye to eye, and he basically was like, he didn't want me there. You could kind of per se,
Which you can feel.
Yeah,
and you can feel that.
Which I was like, but him taking me in was probably big. And some men wouldn't even do that, but he did. And I went back to my mom's, and there was a small private school in Central Private, and they had a coach from Australia. I don't know if you know this guy, Jason. His name's Eddie Payubiscus. And he picked me up with a bunch of other. It was listed, and this is the truth. It's Central Private. It's an all white school.
Right.
Never had a white person. Basically, when I walked in, people looked at me like, "Who is this guy?" Just because the olive color complexion, and they're asking about my mom and dad. And Eddie's like, "He's with me." Well, Eddie picked me and a couple of other boys from around the Baton Rouge area to come play. And we had this girl, Christy Sides, at our school. She was Miss Louisiana, Miss Mississippi basketball. She played. I think she coached for LSU. She played at La Tech, and then she went to the NBA for a while. She's hands down probably the best player that I've been around. Male or female, she was just that good. But that's what brought him there. And so he started a dynasty with us. Like he had a bunch of us that would go to JUCO, D1s, D2s. He had it all. And he started to bring in Australian players. And so we had a string, I think, from my first year, from 94 to like 2000, where the basketball team every year would put out at least 3 or 4, signees. And they started getting 7-footers and all this. It's crazy, some of the teams they had. And and then I think he left after a while, after Christy graduated, some other stuff, but they still had some success with that team. And so, yeah, and then that's when I left, went and played basketball. My first
So that was your
option
senior year? That's where you graduated from
yeah,
there?
that was my senior year. Graduated from there in '94.
Okay.
Which seems like forever a long time ago, but
Yeah.
it's 20 something years. And but then my thing is I really didn't have I didn't have that male figure to where you're going to go. Well, I had some coaches, and I thank God for these coaches. Excuse me. That's what I think about now when I'm coaching my kids, and I think about some of these kids that I get, and some of them don't have these father figures, and you kind of take a little shine to some of them. But if it wasn't for my coaches, I mean, look, I can tell you my coaches from. There was Al Lemoyne, first one. He was in 6th grade. This guy, his daughters went to school with us, and he might have played basketball in high school, but he was there with our 6th and 7th grade team, probably not even getting paid, but he was there to do it. And another guy, Marcus Wakely, we used to make fun of him. He was one of our science teachers. But then a big influence on me was a coach, Don Green, and he played at LSU. He was Bethany's coach, and he was a 5'8" guy, 5'9". But let me tell you, he expected respect out of everybody, and he got it. He was just that guy, and
well, I've seen you coach, and it definitely, all of that story comes through because I see the way you work with those kids, and it's commendable, and it's super inspiring because they connect with you. Yeah. It's a seamless connection.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's fun, but also I think about it, and it's not just sports, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do that I try to make it different is, hey, this is sports. Yeah, I'm gonna kind of work with these kids in the way that they need to be worked with for the sport itself, but let's have fun, especially at a younger age. Now I've coached some in high school back in the 90s and some other, but I mean, I still think of it like, hey guys, let's learn the fundamentals, like in volleyball with the boys I coach, let's learn what we need to learn. And then I'm able to teach them what I've learned and what I wish I would have learned, That's the biggest thing. I think that's one of the biggest learners, and that's what we've talked about. So after the basketball, I went to a JUCO up in Mississippi, and then I actually came home, was walking on at Southeastern, and lo and behold, made the team. And then the girl I was dating at the time and I broke up, high school sweetheart, and I quit. And the coach was like, "Are you out of your mind?" I was like, and I turned down some offers in some smaller schools and some other places, but I ended up talking to somebody in Dallas. And so I went up there for a little while to go play, and I was playing at North Lake, and then was going to go transfer to North Texas. And lo and behold, I'd probably say 3/4 of the season, I just tore my ankle up. Basically, my ankle twisted on my own teammate in a practice to where my ankle touched the ground with my foot on the side. We just stuck my foot in a cooler and went to the doctor, and he was like, sometimes it's better if you would break and snap things. Somehow you did.
There's another parallel between you and I. I did that to my ankle in '94 with another teammate. Yeah. So it's brutal.
Running back with my own teammate's foot, big old size, 16, and I was like, what? And so that was at that point in time. And remember, I'm up in Dallas, never. I'm country come to town. I had never been anywhere like that. I'm from Baker, Louisiana. The furthest I've gone is like outside of Baton Rouge, maybe the Gulf Shores once or twice. So it was a 9-10 month experience. And then the crazy thing was, after all that was said and done, I had somebody contact me because I was out and about one night about the modeling thing. And I was like, I thought it was a joke. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a joke. She's like, I want you to contact me. And lo and behold, I did it. Got on the landline, called her up. And they said, come in. And so that started it. And I actually was able to get some jobs before I left. And then I came home and, just was wondering what I was going to do. And that's when I started the engineering thing. Went to LSU, started engineering, and then I transferred over to UNO. And that's where I finished up over there. But throughout that time, I was able to in the in between, I was able to do things with the modeling stuff and go to New York, and I went there, and then LA, and so I was able to travel with that. I mean, it wasn't anything major. Did a lot of runway stuff, and it was fun. It was an experience,
Yeah.
And I did that for quite some time, but then finally got out of school, and so that was good, and started work and stayed busy and stuff like that. Well, I've got my two oldest. Stella wasn't even born yet, and I have never, and this is before I'd never even touched a volleyball in my life. This is 2007, 8, somewhere around there, and then a girl from UNO that was in engineering with me asked me if I'd ever played, and so I was like, no, I've never played, and so I went out with her one day just to go play, and didn't really think much of it. I had a good time, but a few months later, I would go to this Coconut Beach. I'd go out to the old location where Bruce White, he was running it, and we went, and I would watch people play. I was like, man, this is fun. And what it did actually is it kept me out of the nightlife in New Orleans, because I had been in that before, and that was it's a hard pill to swallow if you let it catch up with you. So that's what I said. I stopped drinking since Seth was born. I'd stopped drinking. I was taking care of myself like I'd always done, but I wasn't doing anything active. And then I started to go to Coconut, and some people asked me to play in a league. So you're looking at 2009, started playing in some leagues and stuff just for fun, way down at the end of the courts. And a year or so later, Bruce asked me if I wanted to play, and he'd move me up on some courts. And probably 2 years into that, just once a week, we go every Thursday. There's it's huge, because at that time Coconut Beach was 21 courts, and they were all filled. Imagine having a complex, an inland complex, 21 courts with 8 teams per court.
That is so
crazy.
Fun.
Yeah,
it was the craziest thing. Jay, listen to this. Like, they had court 1. When I tell you, and look, you can ask Derek about this, and some other, I would go watch those guys. I thought those guys were amazing. I was like, look at these dudes go. They had a guy, his name was Jeff Wilson, called him Squirrel, and Cheese, another guy that Chris Centennial, Cheese, and Andre. I mean, they were good. They're good players. And then Kristen Nuss, Nuss's brother Pete, he was the man. I mean, he's arguably one of the better players that's ever come. Kristen, oh yeah. So we pick with him now. I was like, how's it feel for your sister to be the GOAT? So, but he was absolutely. He might have been one of the first males like that actually qualified, like back in the day. So yeah, Pete Nuss is his name. He played with another guy named Pat Tony, and they were just finishing up playing when I started. So I was able to do a few things with them. I didn't get a lot with them because, they were across the lake. But yeah, that's where Kristen gets it, man.
Absolutely.
So,
you definitely get that younger sibling vibe with her. That's just like, I'm scrapping and clawing, and absolutely.
She is.
Yeah.
She's so scrappy. So I would go and watch these guys on court 1. Had another guy named Eric Poirier, and like and it's 6s, it's 4s or 6s, so it's a big court.
Okay.
When I tell you, these dudes are banging each other. I mean, it was amazing. And the girls and this is the good thing. All the girls are either collegiate players, ex-collegiate players, or they're like top notch at the high school level. All of them. I mean, so there's 8 teams on court 1, and not one of them, I would say at that time for me, I mean, they were all stacked. But of course, you got Pete and Cheese's team and all that. They're like super stacked. So I was like, man, I would love to do this. And then a guy that used to play, Jeff Skiro, he was one of the better players to come out. He's this lefty. And that's what he actually contacted me. Now, my first partner ever was Bruce White. Craziest story. I was like, I'm going to play a doubles tournament. I think I can do it. Now, I was like, this is like double B, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I go there. My partner didn't show up. Bruce was like, I'll play with you. I was like, thanks. And he yelled at me the whole time, told me to, to get it together. I thought I was in decent shape. I'm dying. We broke pool somehow, and then we had to play in the playoffs the first round, and I'm like exhausted. He's like, just hit the ball. I'm like, okay, And so finally we were done. We got beat, and I was so happy. I was like, oh my God. He's like, you need to get in better shape. I was like, okay. And so then him and Jeff picked me up, and that's when I started to play.
Yeah.
So I worked with him a little bit, and actually played with him a little while, and then my first open win was with Derek Zimmerman. That was fun. And then I know, right? And so it was so funny. Derek's just ripping jump serves, and I was like, what do you want me to do? He's like, just grab the ball He's like, hit it if it goes up there. He's like, just get out of my way. I was like, all right, cool. So he's serving bullets to these guys like Jordan Merceron and I think Matt Blank. They're really good players now. But of course Derek was a seasoned vet at that time anyway.
Yeah.
And and then I think in the finals I cramped, of course, because of my size. I'm not used to this competition. And so he's like, drink a beer. I'm like, all right. So yeah, that was my first open win story. So, but
when did you start coming out? When did you start coming out to California?
2016.
Okay.
That's when I didn't really start playing. I'd done a
fucking
few
really.
I'd play a few.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Jason. When I met you, that's what I said.
Because that's when I came out.
Yes, and then we ran in together. We ran into each other on the beach. Remember?
Yeah.
We went out there, and I talked to Mark Burek a little bit about maybe talking to somebody. But what happened is, that's when I went out there. But 2013, me and this Bryce Powers, I don't know if you know that name, but he was on The Bachelorette or The Bachelor.
Okay.
He's we call him Strong Jaw Bryce. He's a good looking fella. So me and him, of course, were these two 6'5", 6'4", ripped guys going around trying to play volleyball. Neither one of us knew what we were doing. Derek and some of the other guys tried to teach us what they could on the fast track. And we just kind of, if we won anything, it was out of athletic ability. It sure the hell wasn't because we knew what the hell we were doing. That's for sure. And we lost more than we won, but we had a good time. And then I think that Jay, is that the year that the AVP wasn't around? I mean, we weren't going to play the AVP anyway, but I don't even know if they're around because everybody.
Yeah,
that was the year the NVL came to
That's
Hermosa
right.
Beach.
Yeah.
The AVP wasn't in Hermosa Beach until like the year after.
That's right. And this is what started it. Me and Bryce, Derek was going up to the NVL in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Bryce was like, let's just go. I was like, what's the worst that can happen? I was like, we're going to get beaten. So we got there. Actually, we lost, but we did okay. And I just was like, and that's what kicked it off. I was like, man, this is awesome. I was like, what's funny is these guys probably don't know that I'm like, twice their age, some of them, because I wasn't 35. I was 35 then. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
36. And then that's whenever I was like, I know that there's more to it than what I know about the game. Yeah. And that's, I met Al B and some other guys, and I waited a year or two. I started to play some local tournaments, maybe make one to Florida and Texas. Won some, I got some better coaching, like Joey Keener, the coach that you guys
we met.
Yeah. Joey was one of the first to like pick me and a few other guys up in coaches, which was kind of wild, which was good. I'm pretty sure his coaching skill set wasn't what it is now. He's one of the best. He's one of the better coaches in this area now for sure. And he's been able to work with people like Evan and Ian and that training group right now. Yeah. So he's and he actually was coaching at Tulane with with Easy.
What's his name again?
And so I'm with Joey Keenan.
Oh, Joey. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he did pretty well, but he was the first one to pick like me and some other players like Jordan Merceron and these other guys up. And what's crazy is it actually like people made comments to him. They're like, why are you doing that? And Joey was like, cause I think, if they want to play, they need to be coached. Yep. So,
Evan's out here. Evan's out here right now.
I know
he's planning on moving, and I think that's a mistake, but,
you think him moving from Baton Rouge, Louisiana?
Absolutely a mistake. 100%.
Yeah.
Would you like to know why without me monopolizing this episode?
No. Speak up.
No, tell me.
Speak up.
Please.
It's a mistake because in Louisiana, he has acute training with more personal attention from a highly capable, high IQ coach. And the reason why people move to California is because, Shawn, they're really looking for networking. They're looking to have competition against good quality opponents, right? Because the whole, the whole adage of iron sharpens iron. But I would suggest to you, and Wendy, she's right there, I would suggest to the both of you that you can get that just taking trips out here 4 or 5 times a year. It's economically advantageous to stay in New Orleans. That's one. 2, I can't name one team that got better significantly. I mean the highest level from doing training groups. Training groups are a way to test what your coach has shown you and to put it into real game form. And the more training groups you're doing, the less you're actually getting a learning curve. You're getting small learning curves because you're facing different competitions, different genres, and this and that. The biggest example is Qatar.
Yeah, you're
Nope.
right.
Zero
Exactly
training groups. If they need to play the Spaniards, fine. The Norwegians, sure. We don't have a tan, but come to the gym. So I think Corey's making a mistake. Is how big a mistake? I think. Look, at the end of the day, the cream's gonna rise to the top. That kid, he's gonna do good regardless. I'm just talking about his economic. He shouldn't be out here paying rent every goddamn month, giving these motherfuckers his money, when he could just spend that money making the plane trips back and forth 4 or 5 times a year. That's just my opinion. I have a question for you before we get too far away from it, because you were on the roll, and this is Wendy's thing more than mine.
Yeah.
Shawn, people that get abused by their parents, there's usually a pattern where it's because their parents abuse them, and it's because their parents abuse them, and it's because their parents abuse them, and it's because their parents abuse them. So my question is, Shawn, did sports save all on this one? How much? How much? I want you to talk to me and Wendy a little bit about how, without sports, because I feel like I'm being presumptuous, but I think I could say this with you. Talk to us about how sports was the biggest difference maker of you not following the pattern of becoming what you despised with your kids.
Well, you're right. I did do that. I think in one of the biggest things. Now, listen, I was a troubled kid in the sense of, look, I used to fight a lot. Like, we laugh about it now, but I was like, man, I used to get expelled for the things I get glorified for now. With the jiu-jitsu stuff, and I did a little boxing and stuff, and just some outlets with some of my really close friends growing up. But I mean, I never stuck with any of it because basketball was always the primary. Played a little football and was good at that. I didn't play. I went up to my junior year and played football, and it was good stuff. But basketball was definitely the way. If I was going to succeed in anything extracurricular, that was it. But I say this to people, and this is a true statement: is hate is a powerful tool. It is. It's hate and it's
Why does it seem like it lasts longer? Why does it seem like hate lasts longer?
Because you have to, and I think this is the truth, and it's because you have to see it's seated. It's seated down in there. When I tell you this, so the last time that my dad had ever abused my mom, this is a true, this is how it works. We were at the house. He was upset because me and her had come back, and my little brother was very young. And this is personal, but I mean, this is the truth. And he pinned her against the wall. He's slapping her, and I started yelling at him. He started coming to me. I went and got an aluminum baseball bat. I'm only like in 5th or 6th grade. I hit it on the ground, and I was like, don't you touch her again. I said, I'm going to hit you. Don't. And I'm sitting there, this little kid just shaking, but I was like, so he's like, oh yeah, he threw him down and he left. And so when he does that, I like lost it. I ran down to the house. It was my best friend at the time. I ran down to their house and probably freaked him out, but I'm like shaking and yelling. I think my brother was there, and I just opened their door and I was like, he did it again. He did it again. He's, and they're probably like, what? Probably looking at me to see if I got hit by a car or a truck or the fire truck. And yeah, that was the last time. That was it. And I didn't want to see that ever happen.
A grown man with a bat. Now I think that kind of takes care of that, right?
Yeah, and I was like, and I'm pretty sure he knew that at that point in time, even I was a kid, I was going to swing it. You know what I mean? So that, and we've had our differences, but since then, and there's been some other parts that are just worse than others. But once I got older, like Wendy, but I played with aggression. I've always been an aggressive person. I think one of the things, like in basketball, my biggest thing was, scoring 20, 30 points, that's cool. But you know what? I'd bang out, as a 6'5" small forward, I would bang out 15, 20 rebounds. And I would manhandle people. And I always think about that. Lance Armstrong said the same thing. I think that was one of his a focus that he was, is hate. It's a strong tool to use on and off the court. It's bad. It's a bad thing. But no, I've never been physical with a woman. I've never been, because I despised it.
Well,
so, but
you guys both have these stories in your background that are, if there's anything that's my North Star, it's this healing, this generational trauma pattern that does repeat and
Yeah.
repeat. And Jay hit the nail on the head with that question. But it's amazing to see the time I've spent with both of you and the amazing way that you've come through it and use that aggression to turn yourselves into such honorable men that are strong and then equally are comfortable honoring strong females. And I think that's a conversation that if this world could grab onto, instead of saying, you know, this is a feminist movement, this is a, you know, African Americans or Caucasians or Asians or whatever it is pitting us against each other, the two of you with these backgrounds, you've come through some amazingly difficult times and then use those to sharpen yourself and create, you know, connection between people that are so different.
Oh yeah.
And that's what's so
True.
great about us is we can sit here and you could bring anyone in on this conversation. I don't understand. You would have a hard time finding someone that doesn't see the beauty of where you guys have come and then what you celebrate coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I speak for Shawn on this when, I mean, you see the end product and that's the beautiful part, and I think Shawn will co-sign with me on this one. I just think reminding people that are going through what we've gone through, realizing that, telling people that you realize that this is not, the path is never going to be pretty. And Shawn will co-sign with me on this one. The path to get to where Shawn is was not pretty. It was deeply flawed on his part. It was flawed on my part. My abuse has made me abusive towards other things, and in some cases towards other women and this and that. And only, you know, maybe a decade and a half ago, I was able to compartmentalize those things. And I don't know what inciting incident makes you hit the reset button. Or maybe it's not just one inciting incident, right, Wendy? Maybe it's just a series of things that builds over till it finally pushes you off the cliff where you got to hit that reset button. So I'm speaking generally, and I'm going to give you the floor, Shawn, on this one, because I think you co-signed with not exactly the same abuse. Mine was my mom, and mom was, you know, had a freaky ass piano teacher and this and that, which amongst two or three other things, it was crazy. But I think the common denominator is if we can convey that, you know, to whoever's going through this shit, right? Hey, I know it's not easy, but the other end looks like this.
And
the other end looks like this.
And you have to come through it.
Yeah.
You have to, and so feel comfortable enough.
Because they don't see a path, Wendy. But they don't see the path.
No.
Who else? Shawn, did you see a path when you were balls deep in this? Neck deep in this, right?
Not even
no,
close.
A way out.
I mean, look, not even close. Between 1999 and 2004, before Seth was born, like I was in nightclubs and stuff in the French Quarter, and a buddy of mine owned a really popular nightclub. So of course that was a lifestyle. I was still in school. I don't know. Sometimes I thought I was there, but that was rough. I mean, like the drug abuse and stuff like that. And that's one reason actually I didn't pursue going to play basketball and some other things. Because drugs. I mean, I got into them in Dallas, of course, of all places, and it kind of just followed me, especially once I got into that industry. And that fashion industry, like the people were great. Like my old, some people that were integral in helping me out. I mean, they actually tried to help me whenever I was starting to get really deep into it. You know, Tracy Dundas, thank God for her. But, you know, she got me all the work. She got me the jobs from, you know, the Versace shows and this and that and the other, and then whenever the filming crew came, that's where she's the one that got me the shows with Lindsay Lohan and doing the commercials here and getting some of the bigger, you know, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and all that stuff that I got to be part of. Thank God for people like her.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. Like that's what I probably got. Like this is the mask from the movie. I had it up here. I was supposed to, but like, so this is the mask that we wore when I was an elite guard.
Sweet.
Yeah. So me and Bryce got this job. It was kind of funny. You went for Escape Plan with Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger. When she told me about it, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. So, you know, some other people had brought it up to me. And so we go to this casting, and it's like, so you apparently had to be between 6'2" to 6'5", 220, you know, 250, 210 to 220. When I tell you we walked in this room of specimens, I'm looking around, I was like, and the lady's like, take your shirts off. I was like, what? So I'm like, wait, what is this? What's going on? This ain't, we're about to audition for the Chippendales or whatever. And like, so it's almost 40 of us. And so, we're taking our shirts off. Everybody's shredded. They got professional wrestlers in this place. They've got all these models. They got all these other guys. And so, Jay, when I was in my 20s, I was even more ripped. Because I didn't have an ounce of body fat. I was still playing basketball and everything else. And so we start doing it, and then she starts picking us out. She's like, you over here, you. So she picks out 12 of us, and then she makes the rest. She's like, go home. And people are like, I just flew in from LA. My agent's sitting here, and she was like, bye-bye. And like, I was like, oh my God. So I filmed for about 12 weeks with that. That was awesome. I got to do some things, which, it's just a fun thing. And I didn't quit my day job, of course. I'm still an engineer. Good. But, so that was the fun thing about it. But in between that time, so it had, the experiences that I've gotten, people probably like, this is crazy, you're going to do all that. Like I got that kissing scene with Lindsay Lohan. And so like when I went to go watch the movie, this little girl behind me, she was like, because this is when I had that long hair, and she was like, you sure do look like that guy. And then I
hold on a second.
Jason's just
hold up. So Shawn,
yeah,
I'm gonna look at the camera when I say this. So in addition to Lindsay Lohan getting all them breaks in court, lady, this is your last strike. I know last time was your last time, but I mean it this time. So in addition to getting all them strikes and keeping her ass out of jail, she got to kiss Shawn Ledig
for a couple of hours, for about an hour straight. We went back and forth. Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. It was my friends, they didn't believe me at first. Like, no, it's going to come out. And of course, every time it comes on HBO or it would, my friends would text me. They're like, oh my God. I'm like,
wow, dude. Yeah.
Well, might have to go look that up.
Shit.
No, it's called just.
Is there some on YouTube?
Just my luck.
I think I've had it. Actually, the first time Stella saw it, she was young, and I think I've got a video of it. I have to send it to you guys.
Yeah. Is it on YouTube?
I don't know.
I can find that.
That one is. I think actually, if you go on Facebook and you look up, just my luck and me, look up my name, it'll probably
just
pull
my
up.
Luck.
And just my luck, and so. And Stella saw it, and she, in her little giggle, she was younger. She started laughing. She was like, "Oh my God, it's Dad!" And then all of a sudden, she goes, "Why did you kiss that lady?" I was like, "Oh, it's a movie." I had to explain it's a movie. It's just a movie. So, but going through all that stuff, I mean, it's been, I've never really, and I've always been one to live life. Like I'm not going to ask questions. I'm not going to ask why or what if, and that's what the volleyball thing. I mean. I blew a lot of time, especially with drugs and stuff with basketball. Like I had opportunities, like Eddie had worked with me. He wanted me to go play in Australia in a league over there, which would have been awesome. There's a guy named Ken Cole and some other. I played against the Australian national team, and I really wanted to go, but the vices I had, and just it wouldn't have been trustworthy.
I've got a question. I got a question for you on that, and I don't know if you've ever watched the Chris Herron story, but I just watched it again on the plane the other day.
Yeah,
he's Fresno State. That's straight out of my hood, and that 30 for 30 on his life is crazy. But
the hell is this?
It's wild.
When
Hold
you
look at
here we go.
There.
The hell is this?
Oh yeah. I get to kiss her, and then I get to kiss Bree Turner. So this is the funny part. Everybody's like, dude, what are you doing? So the premise of the movie is that she lost her life kissing people. And so, but I was the lucky guy that got to kiss both of them.
That's awesome.
Man, they need to put you back on that screen.
What? Oh yeah.
Shawn.
That's classic.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's funny. What's even better is I'm driving in from Florida. I just picked up, my brother had got me a car from an auction. And this is, I want to say, this is before Katrina, I think. And it might have been and so I'm driving the car back. I get a call from the producer. I had went for an audition before for another scene, and I got cut. Me and my buddies Joe and Shawn and all of us. And this was even funnier. So we get to this audition. This is a different totally audition. There's 40 of us in a row, and the guy that you saw in the scene I was in, he gets us up and he starts teaching us dance moves. Now, number one, I would say maybe 35 of us, are straight, and I'm pretty sure hopefully some of them have rhythm. I mean, I've got a little rhythm, so I was okay. But he starts teaching us like eight counts, and like everybody's looking at each other. So we got in groups of 5. I'll never forget it. And then he taught us the dance steps, and we're going at it. And after a while, you start to sweat a little bit. And I got down to like the last cut, and all he needed was like 3 or 4. I got down to the last 5 or 6, and then they cut me. I was like, oh my gosh, all of this for nothing. But they called me back later, and a few months later, and they said that they had a change of mind, and they wanted me to come in. And so I come in, and as I'm getting home, my roommate at the time was Jim. He's in that scene as well. He's like this. He was an Abercrombie and Fitch model, like Midwest. He's from Michigan. Dude looks like he's that guy. Like we went to the Abercrombie thing together, and at that time, this was kind of odd. They told me I was too ethnic looking. I'll never forget that. Look, dude, I'm like sitting there with all these blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys. Like all of us.
Well, yeah.
We got that. But like they were all like straight up farm boys with like they were beautiful men. Trust me. Like we're all sitting there, but like that's the lady. She's like, we really like you. We like the things about you. She's like, but you're a little ethnic for this. And I'm like, what?
Think about those ads though. Those guys all looked exactly the same.
Oh, they were all Midwest farm boys.
Yeah.
They were kind of some Cali type boys, but he was actually one of their guys on their posters and everything. So he calls me, he said, hey, I got this gig I got to go to. And we started talking. It's the same gig. Well, they had got him and I. It was going to be out of him or I. And so when we got there, they started fixing our hair up and stuff, doing some stuff. And they started putting a microphone on me. And I was like, what's this? And she's like, they picked you.
What?
And so he's like, right. Yeah. So I'm picking with him and everything. So we get the first scene. We're doing this for, they set everything up the first hour or two. We get there, they're fixing all this up. We get out, and I'm just trying to be a jokester. So I had some little bitty mint strips. So Lindsay,
I know this is
she
going.
comes out, and some people come out, and she goes. And first I said, she looked at me, and we were talking, and we kind of just getting to meet each other. And I said, hey, my lips aren't going to be burning like the next week after I kiss you. And she's like, oh my God, kind of broke the ice. And then I was like, here's a mint strip. And so and then we hit it off, and I did another scene or two with her because I got to film a couple of weeks, which was fun. And it was a new experience to me. Like I've never had to do anything like that. So it was very cool, getting to meet some of those people, hung out with them, went out with them every now and then with one of my agents. But, it was a good experience. But then work started, and Seth was born. And after he was born, I really, that's what changed me, Jay. That's what changed me in the sense of I wasn't just dealing with myself, and then I knew at a young age what I had to deal with not having a father figure, a full, there full time. And I was like, that's not going to be him. Yeah. No matter what, no matter whether I'm with his mother or not, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be that dad. I'm going to be the dad. Yeah. And so I've always been there. And so, and it's not always been easy. I mean, I didn't get a lot of time with him at first because him and his mother, we weren't married and we weren't together. But, the court system does its thing. They make their decisions. And he turned 18 last week. And I mean, you guys have met him. Yeah. He's a kid.
It's a rad
I'm going to put up this little chip off the old block. I'm going to embarrass him a little bit, but that's a really good picture. Is that not a good black and white? Is that not a good black and white, Shawn?
The lady that took those shots, man, she did a great job with our family photos.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. So
he needed
that. The question I was going to ask you when Jay pulled up all the good movie stuff, but and leading into Seth. No. Oh, those are. I know. Oh, those were great shots.
Wait. Well, no, we gotta zoom. Look at him.
The little guy.
Yo, you want me to Shawn, you want me to caption that? Shawn's like, dude, come over and take the picture, and he's like, can you press click, please? What does that face say? He looked like he got a case of the ash, Shawn.
Oh man.
Hey, all business. And you know the best thing about that whole shoot, he picked that suit out.
Oh, okay.
What a little stud.
Little man picked that suit out. And he wore it the other night. He wore the pants.
Just go back really
with a pair
quick.
of multicolor Crocs.
Yeah.
I was like,
I gotta go back. Let's go back. There he is.
Some good stuff.
That boy is like.
He is.
He's like, what the fuck are you looking at?
Look, hey, that's my guy right there. He turned 7 in December.
Nice. 7,
and,
huh?
That's what. Yeah, and then so having him, it's been a different experience with him since he's with me full. I'm raising him full time. I always
7 years
had that
old,
with Seth and
Shawn.
Stella.
7.
Yeah, 7.
He's 7.
He just turned 7.
Fucking fast.
So
Time flies, dude. 7.
Dude, do you remember Jay? That's right. He's come with me everywhere. So he was there at the NBL. That first NBL I played with Shane Sig, and then that's me and you. Was it the first one? The second one that me and you got on behind the mic together.
It was Hermosa Beach.
Was that 2016?
That was 2016, Hermosa Beach.
Yeah,
this is my birthday.
That's right, Hermosa Beach. That's right.
This is my birthday.
And so Albie was like, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy." And it's more me and you. Hit it off, and we had a blast behind the mic together. And
it was my honor, man. It was my honor because look, I was still going through one of those "who the fuck is this guy" things at that time in 2016, and me, all they needed to do was put a microphone and the headset in front of me. I just waited. I'm a little hater, but I was like, in my heart of hearts, I'm like, no, but in my heart of hearts, I was like, all they need to do is put me in front of the mic. Because just like I was talking about Evan Corey, about moving and this and that, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you are who you think you are.
Say you are. Yeah.
So, guys, sorry, Shawn. So you were talking. Sorry, I'll continue. You were talking about NVL. We first met.
When we first met with the NBL, that was an experience there. I still didn't, sometimes I think back, it's like, oh man, you didn't belong there because I really hadn't been coached or trained. You working with me in California was some of the first times that I really had somebody that, us going out to play was real.
It was so much fun, Wendy.
Besides Joey. And at that time, people always like, what would you have done in your 20s? Well, in my 20s, I had a, 40 plus inch vertical. I was a good athlete. But like I said, it's can't ask what if. So you just go with what you got and push forward. And let's not ask what if. Let's find out what can we do.
Well, Shawn, there were some things I knew that would help. I came into the whole beach scene predominantly, for the most part, like 19 years indoor coaching, but I knew there's certain things that translate from indoor to outdoor. That's the block, taking care of first hit. In fact, it's even harder for indoor because first hit indoor is more target specific than it is just a up and down. Being able to see the court, wait for an up and down set. So. And those are the two things where I thought you needed the most improvement. I thought you wanted to be able to set your partner, right? Because in beach volleyball,
that's
right?
What I say.
No, beach volleyball, right? When someone says they have a big guy, right?
You just gotta
are they going to ask if the big guy can hit? No, probably not. No. They're going to ask if the big guy could block. Hopefully, yes. But maybe block to his height at least. Yeah. But then that ultimate question. If you can
set, you can keep moving up. That's
right.
I will say that across the board
Yes, and it took me a while to understand that. It took me a while. The game was different for me too because I also used to physical, hands-on sports. Mm-hmm. So basketball is physical more so than volleyball. But what volleyball indoor, I didn't get to play much, but I got to play in some like the nationals. I had fun. It just tore my body up, but I liked indoor because of the speed. I was a small middle when I was playing on some of these teams.
There it is.
Different like Chicago and Dallas and DC and all that. But it beat me up. So, because me, I go hard at whatever I do. So, this 4 days, 4 days at nationals just killing me. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. But the beach, it was so specific. And I'm trying to think of when I moved up to Ohio for about with my business for about 2 or 3 years in the oil business. And that is when I forgot what the first specific group, the guys out of Cincinnati and the guys out of Columbus, Corey Robinson and some of those guys. That's whenever I met you too. It was actually NVL Ohio at Flanagan's. That's when I met a group. I was like, hey, I'm moving up here for some work because we've got an oil business and I'm going to be, coming up to do some business. And I would go and travel from Steubenville to Columbus and then Columbus sometimes to Cincinnati just to get coaching, to work with like John Drake, and those guys, they have a super strong group and they did at that time. And I used to say this all the time. I was like, hey, you can say that it's California and Florida and this and that. I was like, you got to throw in Ohio and that Midwest in there.
The style of coaching.
Yeah.
Sorry, the style of coaching is almost a Nazism of being perfect on the skill set. And it shows in their club sports like Ohio Valley. Yeah. It shows in their sport, and all of those kids are largely recruited since the attack. Ohio State, if you look at the last 10 NCAA men's champions, 3 of the last 10 champions are Ohio State. People forget that. Like what? Last year was
Great team.
Hawaii, and then from there it's just the year of the repeat champ, right? It was Long Beach State, Ohio State, Irvine, Loyola Chicago, and then before that Ohio State. So I totally co-signed with you. Also highlighting Ball. Lloyd Ball's father is retired. He's just retired from IPFW. Yeah. He's hanging up his spurs, but those are skill Nazis, dude. They don't just line up kids and look for the best athletes. So you really had to pay dues all over again because they didn't just see big guy that could block. Right?
It was good. I mean, you're right. And some of them, and a lot of them knew I was green. So they picked, that's another good thing on my part. They knew that I just kind of started the thing. And I was actually, I was open about it. I was like, look, I can't pass. I can't do the, and they're like, okay. So, and the passing took a little while once I learned from I came back home. There was a group in Louisiana that I'd worked with as well. But Drew Hamilton, he actually, I wish I'd have gotten Drew earlier. But Drew, that's, Taryn and Kristen's coach. Drew actually was like, hey, he took some time and we played, we had a really good, strong group here in Louisiana for a while that we would practice at Diggs and at Coconut. But Diggs had the indoor facility. Oh, it was me, Evan, Drew, Joey, Ian. They had some guy, JD would come in. I mean, 10, you're right. It was 10 players that we would just go at it for hours because we could. Basically, I was the first one to tap. I was like, guys, my legs are about to give out. But we would do that 3 or 4 times a day, or at least, a week. To we would get some good practices and stuff. But like, I get what you're saying with Evan too, him moving out there. I think with him, it's that he wants the consistent competition because he's going to be the big man on campus for a lot of places he goes. I think maybe he just wants to get that experience, which I think for him, and I told him, this is between you and I. I told him years ago, I said, you're going to have to go test the waters out. Like me, remember me from 2016 to 2018, I was going out to California, 4 times a year, 5 times a year. So I get what you're saying. When I played with Billy Jones and Priscilla Lima was coaching us a little bit. Yeah, Pre. Pre was there. And so I would go out to, the good thing is Billy lived over there in PV. Yeah. So I would stay with him. Or then I started, I'd get a hotel. I'd get, a week or 2 of a place to stay. And so but that was good enough for me. But whenever we'd go, I got there and we would work hard. And then I was ready to come home. So let him get out there and check it out. Yeah. Well, he's with the right people. Just this morning alone, he was with Mike Campbell, Long Beach State women's beach coach. Great personality. I think he's Budinger and Patterson's coach for a long time, and I think he's going to stay with Bud when Bud plays with Troy Field. But this morning, good scrimmage. It was Travis Muirwitter and Evan Corey, 2 lefties, switching up, hitting Oceanside against Budinger and Troy Field. Nice. Honestly, those are the kind of players where, as far as iron sharpening iron, if that's the purpose you came out with here, those are the kind of faces. And I'm not talking about just the top ranked beach players, because on the neutral ground, you know who the real men are, right? Like, look at Atlanta, right? The neutral ground, nuts and cloth, right? Look at Chicago, the ultimate proving ground, right? Partain got to the end. So I'm not just saying that's because they're high echelon players, but if those guys were the reasons where he moved out here to play against, good. Keep playing those guys. Stay on, keep sharpening iron with those guys. Well, I think he'll do that. The one thing, I don't know if he stays out there all year like a lot of people would do. They'll stay the season. They'll stay a little bit past the season and then go in a little early.
I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this What I Meant to Say conversation with Shawn Ledig. It was so rich and packed full of story that I decided it needed to be 2 episodes. So hang on tight and come back next week for more stories on how Shawn became a Jiu-Jitsu champion, building character, and how he works to break cycles of generational pain. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Catch you back here next week.